So till yesterday we discussed like as a layman person like what is the data and what is the database. Today we are going to learn how this data is going to stored, okay, in a database. What kind of things are happening and what exactly the structure of the data, how you are storing the data is going to be discussed today. Try to think like when you're placing something in one place, okay, for example, I am placing a vegetables, okay, I'm placing a vegetables in my fridge. So what are the measurements you are going to take? So there will be different kind of a racks, right? So there is a rack for your eggs, there is a rack for leaves, there is a rack for a vegetables, there is a rack for an ice creams, there is a rack for an some other desserts. So each rack or each shelf in your fridge is designed such a way that it can store some particular objects or some particular groceries or some particular items, whatever you want to fridge. So if you put the eggs in a place where you can put the ice cream, it doesn't fit. The ice cream will not fit in the egg tray. So like that, whatever you are putting, okay, first of all, you need to make sure where you are putting that. The same way, when I'm giving some data to you to put the data in your database, you cannot place the data wherever you want, right? You need some kind of a specific standard, some kind of a specific format. Those formats are called ASCII, okay, and there is another format called Unicode. So there are like even other more formats like UTF-8 and UTF-16. So there are different kind of a standards, different kind of a standards, different kind of a shelves, I can say, okay, in my as a lemon language. What are the standards? First one is ASCII. Okay, what is ASCII? The full form of ASCII is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So there is a group like American ASCII group. So what is this group? American Standard Code Information Interchange group. What this group? Couple of people. Okay, couple of people came together. Couple of architects came together. Okay, we need to have some kind of a standards. Okay, so this is what our standard for these characters. That became an ASCII standard. Okay, so what is this ASCII standard? Let's see. ASCII is a character encoding scheme and it was the first character encoding standard. It is a code for representing English characters as numbers with each letter assigned numbers from 0 to 127. Most modern character encoding schemas are based on ASCII, though they support many additional characters. So what is the meaning of this? They created a standard. Okay, some few people came together and they created a standard, but what is the standard is representing, or what is that the standard is aligned with? That standard is talking about English characters. What are the English characters? A, B, C, D, E, all these are English characters, but how they are denoting those English characters? In the form of a number. Okay, for each and every letter they are assigning a number. For example, if I want to put A, B, C in my uh, table, how you are placing your ABC in your table? You might be placing in a field like employee name. So within the employee name you are putting this ABC, or within the employee name you are putting a John. Okay, John is a name of an employee. So what is a John? It's a collection of letters. What are the letters? JOHN. These are the letters. But how my database, how my uh, uh, what I can say, a column, how my table is going to consider that? Because I created the table based on the ASCII standard. What is the ASCII standard? ASCII standard is a representation of these letters in the form of a numbers. So when I defining my field, when I'm creating my field like employee name, by that time itself I defined it as an ASCII. So whenever you are creating a table or anything, on the background, the database, when you are designing it, at that point of time itself, you are going to decide whether it's an ASCII or a Unicode or what kind of standard you are following on this database. That is what you need to mention when you are defining a database. So I don't want to go into deep of this thing, but try to understand these standards are required to create a proper a proper characterization on your databases. If you're storing a number, if you're storing a character, if you're storing anything on your database, that should have some kind of a standard. So there are different kind of standards. As of now, try to understand ASCII, Unicode are two major standards. Okay, so what is ASCII, how it's going to convert? It's going to convert into a letter or a English character to a numeric value. Okay, most of the uh, databases are following ASCII. Is this clear? Any question on ASCII? Don't think much deeper, like just try to understand or like try to remember. ASCII means what? It's kind of a standard. It's kind of a coding standard. Not a coding standard. It's kind of a database, a code page standard, I can say. Okay. For example, here I am following ASCII. But what happens if you go to Japan? Japan will have their own language. Okay. And German, they will have their own language. Chinese, they will have their own language. So they will follow their own language, their own standards. So Americans and most of the English, wherever you are using English, they will use ASCII. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Whenever you are trying to use alphabets, you're supposed to use ASCII. What is ASCII? It's a coding standard. Instead of coding standard, what I can say is in a character standard. Okay, then the same way you are having Unicode and you are having UTF-8, UTF-16. Normally the XML files will be in this format, UTF-5, UTF-8 and UTF-16. Why? The XML characters are completely different. Okay, what the way you write alphabets is different, the way you write in the XML is different, because there you are going to have a symbols like greater than, less than, all the tags. So that's completely different. Maybe like, have you ever get the chance to look into an XML page, Harika? Did you ever get a
So,
chance to look into a HTML, so not HTML, XML page?
no.
Okay, so normally an XML page will consist of a tag. Okay, so let me show you that. See, this is how the XML looks like. When I'm saying code page or the character code, when I'm having just author, then you can say ASCII. See, if I'm looking at this document, okay, maybe let me take the notepad. 1, 2, 3, or like A, B, C, or like B, C, D, whatever. What is this set? These are the alphabets. So normally when I'm trying to put these alphabets in my database, okay, what kind of standard it will follow? If you are working the American related clients or English related clients, your character set would be ASCII. If you are working in Japan or Mandarin like a Chinese or some other German language, the code page will be different. Have you ever seen this code page concept in MS Word? When you install MS Word, it will ask what kind of code page you want, because that everywhere you will not use English. In some places you might use Japanese, in some places you might use like a German or whatever. Okay, so in each and every place these language sets would be different. So when you are defining databases, okay, Oracle is the same. For example, Oracle is a database, so Oracle would be same, but we, based on the country, based on the language, its code page is going to change. Okay, just try to remember that. Next, see, if you look at this XML, how the XML page looks like this, like this. The information will be like this. For these kind of things, most of the people use UTF-8 or UTF-16 or UTF-32. Okay, that's the reason we are using a different kind of character sets, I can say. So for Mandarin, you know, right, there will be different kind of images in the Chinese language. So even if you take like a French or German, the language is completely different. There won't be any alphabets. There will be different kind of a characters. Even Hindi, it's going to be different, completely different. You're not having this ABCs. You're going to have some different kind of, I mean, I don't know, like even I forgot to write them now. So the completely different. Okay, so they are completely different than your English. Wherever you are using a Hindi, Wherever you are using Mandarin, your character sets also going to be changed. Okay, just remember that one. It's one of the important point you need to remember. Again, people may not ask you this question, but maybe if you're approaching Informatica interviews, then this might ask. Like, what is the code page? Code page means what? The character sets, whatever you are using based on your character sets. So your Oracle or database or your Informatica code pages will be differs. If you are working on source systems of Japanese, you are going to have a Japanese code page. If you are working on character sets of a Mandarin, you are going to have a Mandarin code sets. Okay, that is what the actual intention of these code pages or character sets. Don't worry, I'm going to send this slide to you. So if you want, you can refer this. Okay. Any
Okay.
questions?
No.
Okay. Now we are going to discuss about the SQL and PL SQL. What is a SQL and PL SQL first of all? So fine, I kept the data in my database. So how my database data is getting stored in database? Harika, what format my data is getting stored in database? In the form of tables, right?
Mm.
Okay. And Swapna. So when you are storing the data in tables, what kind of relationships, what kind of associations you're having?
What do you mean by association?
What kind of relationships the data is having or tables are having? Yesterday we discussed. Harika?
I didn't get your point.
Okay, what I mean to say, when you are having employee table and department table, how you are going to relate them? How you are going to associate them?
Primary key.
Yeah, perfect. So primary key and foreign key, fine. But when you're having a primary key and foreign key, what is the use if you cannot get the data out? You need some kind of a mechanism, right?
Mhm.
When I'm saying select star from EMP, I'm going to get a select all the information from the employee table. When I'm saying select star from DEPT, I'm going to get all the information from department table. But how can I get the information from both of these tables? By using a primary key foreign key relationships. Okay, I'll discuss that later, but try to understand here how you are going to read the data from your database is a big question. So you are storing the data in your database. That's a good concept. But once you store the data, if I want to retrieve the data, what is the way mechanism I need to follow? For that, we need a specific language. Okay, because if someone wrote something on a bus board, like the bus is going from Vijayawada to Hyderabad, but like if you don't know the language of Telugu or like English, then how can you are going to read that? Maybe like someone wrote in the board like, okay, this is from here to here, but if you don't know the language, there is no use, right? So you should learn some kind of a language to read the data. That for that sense, they created a language called structured query language. In some places they will call it as a SQL. In other places it can be called as a SQL. Okay, so what is a SQL? Structured query language to read the data from the database. Is that clear? So we are going to discuss about the SQL maybe like tomorrow, what is the SQL and what are the subqueries and everything. But for today, just I'm giving a brief introduction of SQL and PL SQL, then I'm going ahead. Okay. So what is a SQL? A structured query language which is used to extract the data, modify the data, or edit the data, whatever the operation you want to do with the data, you need a SQL, I mean stored, sorry, structured query language, that is called SQL. But there are few things which you cannot do by using a SQL. Then you need some advanced SQL. That advanced SQL or extended SQL is called a procedural language. Okay, a procedural language SQL. So what is a procedural language SQL? So you can use this SQL statements by putting together. Okay, if you're trying to write these SQLs in a procedural way. What is a procedural way? For example, there is a Java, okay, OOPS concept, object-oriented programming concepts. So what exactly you are doing? You are trying to write, you are trying to create a code by using a object-oriented concepts. The same way, if when you are trying to write a code, a procedure by using a SQL, then that kind of a language is called a procedural a language SQL or PL SQL. Normally it is termed as a PL SQL. So what are the things which will come under PL SQL and what are the things which will come under SQL? We are going to discuss in later classes, but as of now, in very high level, try to understand to read the data from the database. Okay, you are going to use either SQL or PL SQL. Is that clear? Any questions? Okay. So when we look into this, the PL SQL, again, the SQL also, how these are going to work. So I am writing a query, but where you are writing a query normally, have you ever written any queries, Harika, in your college days or like any time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
where you used to write the SQLs? Okay, let me put in this way. So when you're writing a SQL, okay, normally we will write in a SQL prompt. Okay, so there will be a SQL prompt in SQL or in Oracle. So if you're writing in a DB2, there is a different kind of a data studio or like anything. So whatever the tool you are using, that tool is called a client. Okay, even for the SQL also, okay, SQL editor is one of the tool. Okay, we are calling that as a client tool. But fine. The tool where you are writing the SQLs is called client. Okay. When you are writing something on your client, where the control is going, how you are going to get the data, you are going to connect to the server. To the server. What do you mean by server? The place where your database is sitting. Okay. So what is a client? The place where you are writing the query. And what is a server? The place where your query is executing. Okay, so how this is happening? When I write something on my SQL editor, how the control is going back to the server? It's pretty simple. When when you are asking a person, okay, go and find out whether this employee is worked on so and so company or not. What he will do? He will take your request. For example, I am applying for a job. Okay, what will the employer will do? The employer will ask, okay, how much experience you have. Then you will say, I have 5 years of experience in TCS. So what employer will do? Oh, that's great. Okay, so you can maybe like we will let you know the results after 5 days. During these 5 days, what this employer will do? The employer will give, okay, a request or a instruction to the third party, okay, to the third party, and they will ask him, go and find out whether this person is really worked, okay, in so and so TCS company or not. Then this third party guy will go and find out, okay, whether this person is worked or not. So in the TCS, he is going to search, okay, so and so employee, so and so time, whether he is worked there or not. And once he get the result, okay, once he get the result, he'll come back to the employer and he will provide the result. Whether he's worked or not, everything is going to provide the results. Same way, when you write some SQL query, assume you are writing a SQL query in your employer's editor. What this employer's editor will do? Okay, so this person wrote some SQL, try and get the results. Okay, these are the requirements. Go and try and get the results. Then who will go? There is a backend client server architecture. Client server architecture will work in the background. What is this client server architecture will do? Whatever this employer editor has given the instruction, right? That will be converted into a packet that is called a data packets. And through networking or through network layer, these packets will be sent to the server. What is the server here? The TCS company. What is the thing here? The database server. To the database server, a request will be sent. After going to the database server, then from there, based on his request, the server will send the data back. Okay, that data again will come through a network layer as if in the form of a packet. Again, that packet of data will come back to your editor. There you can see the results. So when I write a query like select star from EMP on a client, a request will go with a select star from EMP. Okay, the same request will go to the database. When it go to the database, what will do? It will first search for the employee table. Okay, because there could be like n number of tables. So first it will start with the employee table. Okay, it will find, okay, employee table is here. Okay, that's okay. Then what my client is asking, he's asking select star, means everything. So he's going to put all this data in the packet and it will send it back. So when he send it back on your editor, the editor will showcase you, okay, these are the results. So this is what's going to happen, okay, in a client server architecture. Even in the Oracle database also, it's going to happen in the same way. Okay, is this clear? Any questions?
No.
The rest of all these points are talking about the same. Whatever it is, whatever the editor, whatever the Java, PL SQL, anything, this is what going to happen. Okay, so what exactly happening in the background of the PL SQL? The same thing. Whatever the query you are firing, that query will be sent to the database server. Whatever this query you send, based on that, it's going to execute that query on your server and it's going to get the results back. Okay, still same. He's putting like in a professional language, I just mentioned in a llama terms. Okay, he's calling the engine, whatever is executing, he's calling that as an engine, where it is going to execute on the Oracle server. Okay, so if you want to see the same thing in a pictorial way, PL SQL block, this block is your client. Okay, what it will do, it will send the PL SQL queries or statements to the server. The arrow, okay, when I'm saying arrow means what? It's a network layer. Through network, it's going to the server. After going to the server, it's going to a first thing is PL SQL engine will take that specific statement, SQL statement, and it's going to provide that statement to a statement processor. Once that is processed, actually he forgot to mention there is a reverse arrow also will be there. That reverse arrow will take the results back to your client. Okay. Now try to understand. Even the, I mean, don't see. This is what I'm talking about. There will be reverse arrow. Okay, this is a right example I can say. Request response from the processor, from the engine. Okay, so try to understand, to put in a simple way, the same example, like you went for an interview and they asked your experience, you mentioned so and so, they will give to one arrow, okay, go and find it out, it will come here and again it will go back. Okay, so he's giving one more query for the employee, another employee is going and coming back. Whatever is happened on this server side, okay, you can see a different block here, right? Within the server, okay, what are the operations are happening in TCS? Okay, when you go to a TCS office, first you will go to the reception, from there he will route to the HR, like think like that. Okay, there will be a control from one process to other process, but the concept is same. Internally there will be different kind of a process, but ultimately high level there is a client and server architecture. Any questions on this one?
No.
Okay, so the basic difference between the SQL and PL SQL is a SQL is a single statement. A PL SQL is a couple of statements putting in a separate block. Is this clear to put in a simple terms? I don't want you to go into depth because you are not a PL SQL developer or you're not doing anything, but just have an idea. A SQL is in a single statement. A PL SQL is a block of statements or a block of procedures. You are putting all these things together under one single block and you are executing it. Any questions on this one? SQL and PL SQL.
No.
Okay. The next one is OLTP. What is OLTP? I didn't have any slide for this, but like because these are like just a conceptual ones, but definitely I can provide the slides from Google. But try to understand the concepts. OLTP. Okay, in the data warehousing I mentioned. Okay, the first layer is going to be ETL. The second layer is going to be an OLTP. So I already discussed this, but again I'm discussing. So what is the OLTP? Online transaction processing system. So in the first layer of the data warehousing, I was discussed about the ETL process. Okay. And in the ETL, what exactly you are doing? You are extracting and then transforming,
Loading.
loading. So in the data warehousing, this is one part and another part is OLAP. I'm sorry. The another part is OLAP. But what is the OLTP then? Where is the OLTP is coming into the picture in data warehousing? Okay. So let's take an example. For example, you went to a bank. Okay. You went to a bank or you went to a Walmart. You purchased an item. Okay. You purchased some groceries. And like that, there are like a millions of people are purchasing the things on the same store or across the world. What is this kind of information? It's a transactional information because you're doing a transaction. So when you're purchasing something means what? You're doing a transaction. So where you are storing all these transactions? You are storing all these transactions in a separate database. This is nothing related to your data warehouse. Okay, this is nothing related to your data warehouse. There is a separate database. Okay, there is a separate database irrespective of your data warehousing, it's stored in the data. That database is called OLTP, Online Transactional Processing Systems. This is not part of your data warehouse. Okay, this is a separate one. But this can be a source of your data warehouse sometimes, not all the times, but this can be a source of your data warehouse. But what is the OLTP, full form of the OLTP? Online Transactional Processing System. Okay, so sometimes this could be a source for your ETL and sometimes not. But what kind of information you are going to store under OLTP? You are going to store all the transactions, okay, all the day-to-day transactions in OLTP. People may ask you, what is the difference between OLTP and data warehouse? What is the difference? OLTP is going to maintain the current transaction. If I'm going to purchase a TV, so on January 1st information will be available in this OLTP. But after 10 years, if I ask someone, hey, can you get the information of so-and-so product and so-and-so transaction which was happened on January 1st, 2016. In 2026, I might not get that information because in 2026, this 2016 January 1st information became a legacy data. Means what? It's not a transactional data. It's a data which is already stored in your data warehouse. What is the transactional data? It's online transactions, means a day-to-day transaction. Don't think online means just like it's an online order. No, online means what? A day-to-day transactions are called, or a live transaction is called online transactions. Okay, is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, so people may ask, what is the difference between online transaction processing systems and data warehouse? Okay, the only difference is online transaction processing systems are main or contains a current data, but whereas data warehouse will contain current data as well as a historical data. But the difference is data warehouse will consist of historical data as well, but whereas OLTP will not consist of historical data. OLTP is very, very limited. It might contain only a 1 week worth of the data in sometimes 3 weeks or like sometimes 10 weeks or sometimes 20 weeks, but not more than that. But data warehouse, it can consist from the starting of your business till the end of your business. Okay, even if the state farm is started in 19th century, from that point to current date, okay, till now each and every record will be there in state farm data warehouse. But in state farm OLTP, only limited data, maybe last 1 month data or 2 months data or 1 week data or 1 day data. Depends what level of data you want to maintain in OLTP. That is what OLTP. The next one is OLAP. Okay, OLAP is what? OLAP is a system in a data warehouse which is used for reporting purposes. Reporting purposes. Our OLAP, the same kind of a reporting, but it's a relational OLAP. So no need to learn much about these things. Try to understand the abbreviations. MOLAP, multi-dimensional OLAP. I don't want to dig into this thing because these are like kind of a different worlds. Okay, but try to understand, and you should have some kind of a familiarity in your mind when people are talking about these things. OLAP means what? OLAP and ROLAP, MOLAP, all these things are related to the reporting tools. Okay, what is a reporting tool? Reporting tool means whatever the results of data warehouse, if business want to see those results, these reporting tools will generate a pictorial representation of the data, like Cognos reports, business objects reports. So these are the reports which will show or which will give a clear picture or a clear understanding to the business in the business language. What is the business language? A graph or a Acrobat reader format or a specific picture that will denotes or a pie chart or graph, anything which business can understand. It should not be like in a data. Okay, it should be like in a picture. Picture gives more clarity than the data. Okay, does that make sense? Now, metadata. What is the metadata? Very, very, very important. Okay, so let's take like this. In India, so we are having some castes, right? Like, what are the castes in India? Like, maybe some Naidu or some Reddy or some Yadav or whatever. Okay, there are so many things, so many castes. Okay, what exactly the meaning of the castes? Based on the work, what a person is doing, based on that, they assigned or they grouped the people into certain categories. Okay, into certain categories. Maybe like the people change the definition of it right now, but the way they formed, the castes are formed like that, like based on the work what they did, based on that they assigned, okay, you belongs to so and so group. That's why I'm calling you as a so and so caste. Now that was a rule. Okay, that was like a ASCII standard, I can say, like, or like a Unicode standard. But what exactly they led to right now? When I say okay, he's a Shastri, what is the first thing comes into your mind? He's a Brahman, right? When I say he's a Reddy, what the first things comes to your mind? He might be some kind of a landlord in some place, or he might be doing some kind of an agriculture. If I say Shetty, what the first thing comes to your mind? He might be having some kind of a business. Okay, so what exactly? I mean, don't take in a negative way. I'm not trying to put anything related to your caste or to my caste, but like what I'm trying to say is like this is the simplest thing so that it will come and sit your minds. Okay, so that's the only reason I mentioned the castes, or else I could have taken other example. But still that's okay. Now, what exactly meaning of this thing? How I can relate this to metadata? So based on some keyword, if I say Shastri, what are the things coming in your mind? There are so many things coming in your mind. One thing is he's in a Brahmin. He might be a vegetarian, or they are having some kind of a traditions. They will do a daily kind of a puja. So how many statements, how many explanations, how many things coming in your mind by putting just one single word? So many things, right? Even when I say like ready, you will have your own opinions about something. I mean, the same single word, you can build like a different kind of opinions in a person. Now, what is this single word then? The single word is a clue. A single word is a clue about other information. What is other information? His food habits, his attitudes, his character, whether that is right or wrong. Okay, I'm not arguing on that. Okay, whatever, based on this thing, you can decide whatever you want, but at least it is giving some kind of a clue, right? So what exactly is giving? Based on a small word, based on a like a 2 letters or 3 letters word, you are going to build up some kind of an assumptions. This kind of thing, okay, this kind of thing is called a metadata. Now let me put in a business way. Okay, when I'm saying like what is the best example I can say for metadata? Employee number. Okay, employee number. What exactly the things coming in your picture, in your mind? Employee number could be a description or a unique number or a kind of a key in a table, right? So employee number, employee name, all these things are kind of a metadata. By mentioning that, you can understand at least like a couple of details or like couple of points about that employee number. Okay, if I ask anyone what is your employee number, for anyone, for any person in this world, or for any employee in this world, if you ask employee number, you definitely get some kind of a data from him. That is what the power of metadata. Okay, even now when I'm creating like this Excel sheet, okay, when I'm creating that Excel sheet, what I will say control F. I will say control F. How you are getting this window? How this Excel will know? Okay, just by putting this control and F, this will come. How it will know? Because when they are creating the software itself, they created some kind of a metadata which is lying under roots of this software. So somewhere they've written, if the user press control and F, just produce this window. So what is the metadata here? Control and F. By giving this control F to the MS Excel, it's providing some kind of information to you. Hope like I gave enough examples. Now I am giving actual definition. A data about data is called metadata in simple way. Okay, a data about data is called a metadata. When I'm saying employee number, select star from EMP or like select employee number from EMP, you're going to get all the employee information. Employee is a metadata. Okay, is that clear? For any software, for anything in this world, metadata is a mandatory thing. Anything, even if you say, if you take like a Americans also, or like Russians, or like Indians or Chinese, what is the metadata? Nationality, very high level. Nationality is a metadata. Okay, so that's why like these all are the things you are going to put in your application forms, and everywhere you are going to put some kind of a metadata that will talk or that will explain about you. Okay, so that is a metadata. Maybe like sometimes my example could be wrong, but like try to understand the concept. Finally, the metadata means data about data. If anyone asks you, you can provide this information, data about data. Don't talk about the caste and everything. Maybe a few people might not like that, but you can mention definitely about the employee name, column name are the metadatas, table names are the metadatas. Okay, nationality is one of the metadata in real time. Instead of real time, I can say general lifestyle, like nationality is a metadata. In the real time, employee number is a metadata. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. So now let's talk about the SQL. These are the things which are related to a complete SQL things, but like I don't want to go with these things right away. First, you guys need to understand. I mean, before understanding, you guys need to have that Informatica in your missions and Oracle in your missions. So how about you, Harika? Did you able to download them?
Yes.
What is the current status?